All right. All right. So I guess I would just say let's just get comfortable and get grounded and open to receiving. Um, just open, be open to receiving, open to challenging um attachments, thought attachments to current lifestyle choices, things of that nature. Um, my goal today is to create more of a discussion than any kind of a talking to people or talking at people. I guess what I'd like to do is ask people what their relationship to food is, and if they're aware of that relationship to food. What does that look like for them?
I
I
like,
go ahead.
I'll just say I'm aware that I got into 12-step recovery 35 years ago because I have an eating disorder. And it was bulimia. And
Uh-huh.
that was 35 plus years later. I'm very aware of my first go-to when I don't want to feel something is food. So I'm evolved, and still it's one day at a time, having a really loving relationship with my body and with food and how I nourish intentionally.
That's excellent. What does that look like for you? What types of foods?
The structure for me is intermittent fasting. I'm sure it's part of my eating disorder and it's part of my commitment to health. I want to keep a certain weight that's healthy for me. I'm very active, so I do intermittent fasting. And then I eat all organic as much as I can. I do eat meat. I love meat, but I eat meat that's been cared for lovingly. And I get a lot of up here, I have a cousin who just gave me some farm eggs kind of thing. So I do a lot of protein. I eat fat. I stay away from too much sugar, but I love sugar. My first love was sugar. So, so I'm just very intentional and conscious. I don't do a lot of gluten. I don't do a lot of dairy, but I'm flexible too.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I've experimented off and on. I've been vegetarian and vegan, and I still eat meat too as well. I try to do the conscious meat. When I do have fluctuations in income, though, it's really difficult to eat organic and to eat in a good way. And in a co-living space, if there's no access to kitchen or storage of produce, then I have to go out. And it's like that. I just taste how things are so preserved, and I just think this isn't food. I mean, I ordered something the other day and I started eating it, and I have some limitation in my nerves and the left side of my face. My whole lip went numb, and it's like, oh, this is toxic. It's like my face just reacted to it, and it's like, oh my gosh. And so, I go out and I try to enjoy things like I used to. I mean, I love pizza, but it's like I eat pizza now. It's like, ooh, that doesn't taste so good. It's like, huh, interesting. But if
Mm-hmm.
I could, I would be much more conscious of it, because when I was living in the environment off grid, we were so healthy, and we had the right resources and the right people in place to make that easy. We just had these buffets all day long. It's like, my gosh, 3 buffets a day of your choice of vegan everything. It was beautiful, but it
Yes, thank you.
doesn't happen in the convenience world.
And a lot of it is designed that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how about you, Kevin?
I I have quite a relationship with food. Uh, my big issue is when I had PM meal 25 years ago, it wiped out my appetite. So I never get hungry.
Wow.
I never feel hungry. Uh, but yet I try to eat, and hopefully I eat okay. I eat chicken and pork, and in right amounts, and I don't use sugar. I don't use salt. So hopefully what I'm putting in my body is working, and I just put on 5 pounds, so something's working.
Very
Good
good.
job.
I've got a lifelong interesting relationship with food. Like I'm never going to have that issue. Like I'm just going to eat well. And I have a ton of allergies and food sensitivities from when I grew up. Like, you know, my mom took me off of wheat when I was like 7, I think, you know, and then I found out a bunch of other things when I was 18 and then a bunch more when I was like 25. And so I have to read the ingredients on everything I eat. Like if I find something that works, I realize that I even have to like read the ingredients again later on just to make sure. Cause like I've had like formulas change on me and all of a sudden I'm allergic to it when I, you know, cause they added something in. But because of all these restrictions, not only the allergies, but I also have like mast cell activation, which is like my histamine reaction goes kind of off the charts. Before I went on medication for it, I would like eat lunch and feel like I have to take a nap. Like it was getting to the point where I was like dysfunctional. And so I'm on like 7 doses of antihistamines, 3 different types a day to deal with the mast cell activation. And I guess like 3 different types, but like it's, you know, it's all really intense. So like I have kind of a chocolate addiction and I do like no refined sugar chocolate. So like Dr. Bronner's chocolate is like my friend. So because yeah, like all those sensitivities, like even though I eat really well, like I eat, you know, fresh, like mostly organic vegetables every day. And, you know, I often cook them, but like, you know, I make my own food and like I have like a healthy smoothie every morning. But that chocolate addiction is definitely like there to kind of buffer the other stuff that I can't have. And I was vegan for like 6 years of my adult life. And then I was kind of what I jokingly call a pesca vegan, which, you know, was just fish and then like, you know, vegan except for that. And then after the mold issue kind of knocked out my health, I started eating some other meat again. So I choose to not eat beef or pork because of how they're raised in our country. If I were to like be at a farm where they had raised the pig themselves, I think I would be open to like eating, you know, some of that again. But I've literally visited a pig farm that was owned by my extended family in Colorado, and a small pig farm. The emotions that I got from being around those animals for just a few minutes was just overwhelming. And I feel like they're stressed because of how we house them and raise them, and they don't understand their own stress is what I kind of picked up on. And like I feel like we're eating that when we eat this you know highly overcrowded farmed meat. So anyway, I think I have a pretty good relationship with food, and I do food as medicine. Like I take turmeric every morning, and you know, cilantro when I'm cleansing a lot, and all kinds of different stuff like that. But I still, oh, and cassava. That I'm gluten free, so I found all these great things that had like cassava instead, and I was eating those and I was gaining weight, and I was like, oh no, so then I can't do the cassava anymore either because like it makes blocks your body's iodine absorption. So I started to have to take iodine supplements.
Wow.
Anyway, I do pretty good, but there's a lot going on with it, so it's complicated, and I allow myself my chocolate addiction.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you.
Karina or Katrina, how about you? What's your relationship with food?
It's Kareen. It's Kareen. Hi, everyone. I would just say, I was the kid who grew up where I ate and ate and ate, but I was active, and so my
Were you
dad.
asking me? My internet was dropping.
Oh, okay. It's Kareen. Sorry. What I was saying is that as a kid, I ate and ate and ate. I mean, I would eat so much, and my dad used to say, "Do you have a hollow leg?" And you know, And, you know, but I've never been, the joke was in the family, and my mom would still say it, as she would say to me, hey, you know, if you eat all this, all your plate, you're going to get dessert. And I'd say, okay, thank you. And I'd try to get up from the table, and she'd go, what are you doing? I go, I don't want the dessert. I'm going to go. So I've never been a sweet eater. And then one thing that I have found in my life is that I do have to, if people are serving sweets and it's late at night or late, even a dinner around 6 o'clock, I sometimes feel like obligated to have that dessert, even though I don't want to. And recently I've told people, which I'm proud of myself, you know, I'm not a dessert person because I'll make something homemade. I'm sorry. Because otherwise I find I'm up till 2 in the morning, even if I have a small piece, because I'm not really a sugar person. You know, it kind of revs me up. But I am interested in what Caitlin has to say. I mean, I eat organically as much as possible, like everyone else, the meat, but I agree with the pigs and all that. You got to be careful. I really like, I don't know if anyone's read her books, that Temple Grandin, regarding, you know, how that affects us too. But I just want to find out, I'm hoping you're going to tell us, Caitlin, too, if you know anything about, I've been getting stuff and hearing friends that have gotten tested to see what their body's missing, what their cortisol levels are and all of that. And if you would, I mean, I don't know your experience, but just in your opinion, if you would recommend that. And that's just one question I did have. I'm jumping ahead. But
Thank you.
for putting us together.
Thank you. Katrina or Carrie?
I'll go. Hi. I'm traveling, so my video is not on. But for me, my relationship with food was, uh, you know, I started out, I don't know if how many of you can relate, but you know, as a kid, I had to eat everything on my plate because there were starving kids, even if I didn't want it. So I got to a point where, as an adult, I was doing the same thing. I have to finish everything on my plate, even though I'm full. And then I finally got to the point where I'm full. I'm not going to eat anymore. So that journey took me through a lot of different weights. And I'm now to the point where I try to eat more mindfully. I eat slowly. I pay attention to my body. But at the same time, when I'm shopping, I am shopping for my veggies to make sure, I mean, they're veggies that I like, but I know the certain things that I need. And like I said, I pay attention to my body, certain cravings. I want more veggies. I want more of this. I eat less meat these days. Just because as I change my eating habits, certain things kind of mess with my stomach. But I'm definitely doing a lot more mindful eating, and I feel like it's a lot healthier mentally, not just physically, but it's the mental aspect of it too. So that's where I'm at.
Nice.
Thank you. I agree a lot what has been stated here, and I just want to preface that in no way, shape, and form is the intention of my talk, and it will be brief because it's such a large topic, and there is so much information out there, and so much misinformation and disinformation out there that it can be an overwhelming topic. And my intention was just to say some things to create an opportunity for a pause in thought in your current belief systems, past belief systems, and if you will, pun intended, just to kind of give you some food for thought. My journey, much like everybody else's growing up, New York City, Irish Catholic, every day, pretty much you had meat every day, except when it was Lent and Good Friday. Food has changed dramatically over the years. The food system has changed dramatically over the years. So people in the 70s, 60s, 50s eating meat, one, it was more of a luxury for people who had more money, so they could eat it more often. Two, they were not raised or cared for in the same manner that they are today, which is a large influence. For me, my eating is twofold. The journey was twofold. The very first one right off the bat was I did it for the animals. I've been one of those crazy animal advocates, but also who was very hypocritical, I believe. And again, I want to be careful. I'm speaking about my journey. I tend to use language and self-awareness that might be other people might find for themselves. I'm not directing it at anybody here. This was how I talked to myself, and this is the realizations I came in my journey. It's not meant for any other purpose than to share with you my journey, how I came to the realization that I did it for the animals first, but because at the age of 30, and I'm almost 60 now, I was extremely active person, very physically active every day. And I was concerned about my protein intake and my health. And at the time I subscribed, I was raised by a nurse. I subscribed to the day's education, hence we know the lack thereof actually, but the education then was, nutrition was a very different and very undeveloped area. So the concern that I had was that I would not be healthy going forward. So anyway, so I said, all right, well, I'm going to stop eating because of animals, and then climate change, and then just all this other stuff. I said, well, I want to be healthy, and I want to age well, and I don't want to age to where I'm fighting chronic illness. I've spent the first half of my life dealing with major depression. I didn't want to spend the next half dealing with chronic physical illness, suffering one way or the other. I was just like, I've had enough suffering. I don't want to continue my life suffering. I want to make better decisions for myself. So that got me in the door for vegetarianism, and did that for a few years. And as I was researching, more information came my way about how vegetarianism for me really wasn't really doing what I had originally intended to do. So I just went over to veganism, and then my veganism journey was wrought with because
Uh-oh.
She froze for everybody.
Yeah. It's temporary. In case she's talking and talking.
Caitlin, we don't hear you.
Oops, she'll come back in, I guess. I've been reaching out to her as well on the 29 Palms property because she's got some off-grid living skills, and so she's willing to help us on a lot of the questions that have come up.
While she's frozen until she comes back, on that, do you guys know if you have the water rights there? Is there a well or like?
I believe there is water. We don't know what that looks like, but he said there was water and electricity available to the property. Whatever
Right.
that looks
Okay.
like, I'm not sure. It could be the city water
Yeah.
that we just have to purchase. I don't know. But one
Yeah.
of the
Is it
questions
just a
I asked her,
utility or?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. One of the questions I asked her though is what does it take to go off grid and, start your own water catchment or these, I think she called them food farms, or she said there's a name for it. When you terraform, you change the environment of what plants you put alternating so that it captures and holds more of the rainwater that comes in. And so that you can grow a real ecosystem with a number of different plants that either feed the animals that graze the grass that then you take the milk or the meat if you eat meat, that sort of thing. And then there's these philosophies that if you do these gradient patterned plant-based growth patterns around the trees, around the grass, around the other gardens, etc., that there's a way to self-sustain in a bigger way than just your traditional garden and lawn.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There's so much good information on how to get your land in better condition when you're in such dry environments by,
Right.
you know, creating environments where the water can catch and like feed the plants and stuff when you do have rain and all of that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We just got a notification in Houston. I don't know if this is relevant at all to you guys, but that we can buy rain barrels. We used to have rain barrels when I was
Oh,
little.
wow.
Time we had gardens up here in Michigan. So rain
Yeah.
barrels.
When I first moved to California, I was shocked. They weren't recycling and they didn't allow you to do water catchment. You had to buy water from them. And it's like, what?
Where was
California is
that?
supposed to be
Where?
progressive
Where?
in California.
Oh my gosh.
When I first moved here,
There's
it's like they're
been,
going to be much better about all these things. I came from the East Coast,
Mhm.
but they didn't
Yeah.
even have recycling when I got here. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Well,
There's
interesting.
even in Washington, I remember people having issues with like getting approved to get like water catchment with rain barrels and stuff, which was so weird. But and then I live on a floating home right now, and there's been a battle on and off again over the years. They want to charge a stormwater tax, but like all of our stormwater runs off of our roofs and into the river. So we're not like, you know, using it for like, you know, 71 structures here. It's just our parking lot that the
Right.
stormwater, you know. So yeah, water rights are a big issue, like wherever you
Yeah.
are in strange ways, you know.
Our rain
Interesting.
barrels are not for drinking. They've turned into primarily tree frog and peeper habitats, and right now they're our feral honeybees' favorite spot. They're
Oh, wow.
constantly in the water in the rain barrels, which I just love. So at this point, so many critters use them. I wouldn't
Yeah.
drink out of them anyway.
Bees go in the rain in the rain barrel?
They are getting fueling up for the winter. They start that like in August.
That is
Yeah,
so cool.
they drink. Yeah, they get around the edge and drink, and they'll just fly right around your head. They don't. You're just like a tree. They don't care.
Mhm.
And they're fascinating. And the watching the tadpoles grow is wonderful.
I'll
It's
bet.
just amazing.
Yeah. That's cool. Welcome back, Caitlin.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, apparently my battery died on my laptop and it
Oh,
disconnected me from my internet.
oh boy.
Anyway, so I'm glad that happened because I didn't want to go off on a tangent. So basically, I had the journey that brought me to where I am today, which is fine. Let me just say that I'm very clear. It is not everybody's journey. It's not everybody's end game. This is not my intention. My intention is just to share with you that a couple of things happened for me. Was one, I wanted to do it for the animals. Two, I also wanted to make sure that I was making a healthy decision for myself. And it's taken a lot of years of disseminating information. Western nutrition education leaves a lot to be desired, and it's one of the reasons I got into following functional medicine, because functional doctors will provide services to the root cause of disease, and they include mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
So
I love
for this
that.
group here, I wanted to kind of just touch on food for thought again for spirituality. Part of my spirituality, one of the questions I had to ask myself was, being a proponent that I believe that to be as whole a person, not perfect, but as whole a person as I can strive to be, my understanding is that we want to have mind, body, and spirit all working together optimally. And I find that in my spiritual endeavors and people, I often wonder, or for myself, was I am a huge advocate for promoting peace on earth and working with people to create inner peace, because am of the belief that we will never have outer peace in the world until people are at peace within their own selves. And that the outside collective is just a reflection of how many people are not individually at peace within themselves. And in looking at that, I got to looking at trying to understand if the way that animals are housed and the things that they are fed are, not good. They're just not good. And the animals are under a lot of emotional duress. And I'm trust me, I don't have the heart to even begin to go into any detail that's going to be disturbing. I can't do it. I can't see it. I can't hear it. I can't talk about it. So I'm just going to refer that everybody knows the horrific conditions that some of these animals go through. And consider that those who are yet, are just in line to be slaughtered. It's been shown that animals are sentient beings, and maybe they don't communicate the way that we do, and we don't know what they can comprehend and what they can't. All we can do is observe them with each other and how they interact with us as humans to understand that some of them are highly intelligent and understand quite a bit. And I would just imagine being in a slaughter line, hearing, smelling, sensing another animal that I've been frolicking with suffering, in that process. What that came up for me was, wow, I'm aware that they must release an awful lot of cortisol, which is the fear hormone, in their bodies while this is happening. And then they're living in this emotional discord and fear and everything else that must impact them. And then when we ingest these animals, how are we not ingesting the horror, the cortisol, the hormones, the antibiotics, and let's just say you do organic, which I commend you on. My own family tends to try to do, they're all meat eaters, but they all do try to do the humane decision. And I applaud you for that. That's a big step. I still think that in my studies, it shows that the majority of human beings do not require meat protein to function or to survive or to thrive. They just don't. The majority. Some people, I'm glad somebody brought up the blood work. I do recommend that people get a baseline blood work and find out exactly what is going on with your body. If something is off, I will tell you in my own way, because I'm having to go through this myself. Something has changed recently for me. I'm not sure what, so I'm going to have some blood work done to find out what's awry. But we need to have a baseline blood work so that But I will tell you this. I do know that people can be off biologically or physiologically, even mentally, emotionally, and have a high tolerance for putting up with that lack. We just adapt, and we find other ways to adapt to the thing that's not working so well. And that becomes the new norm for us. Everything that I have read, and I shared with you, Nikki, and I apologize, it was later this morning, the links, and we'll get you the links, even if it's in a separate email, of the more pivotal books that made a difference, that were empirical, evidence-based information. And I want to be clear with you there that I'm only interested personally in empirically evidence-based information, not conspiracy theories, and not somebody who goes off and says everybody's got to, live on a plant-based diet. I think in a perfect world, I'd like to see that for people, because in my research, a more plant-based diet, again, don't have to do it a full-time 100%, but if you had more fruits and vegetables in your daily diet and a little bit less meat, like maybe not every day, certainly not twice a day, and certainly not 3 times a day, but a few times a week, if that's what you felt you needed to do or wanted to do, that's your choice for your own reasons. I would just ask you again to consider why if you were to understand and know and believe the facts that people don't have to have meat, and I'm going to assume that biologically or not biologically, but for your blood work, that you're not one of those that actually shows that you need to eat meat. The irony of the whole thing, though, is most of the protein, all of the protein and the vitamins and the benefits that we consume from animals they themselves consume from grains and from plants. So they're just the carrier for the protein and the other whatever vitamins you may get from that, or the iron or whatever, and you can just go straight to the plants and get that. The problem is most people don't take the time to understand how many greens they need, how many fruits and vegetables they need to live optimally. And people's ideas of salads, I will tell you, and I'm not trying to be rude, I will tell you, if I go to somebody's house and they offer me a salad, it's iceberg lettuce, maybe a tomato, maybe a cucumber. I mean, my salads have a variety of zucchini, a variety of squash and cucumber and peppers and broccoli, cauliflower. Just, I mean, I throw the whole kabit and caboodle in, you know, and carrot and everything else in there to make it more optimal. So that said, so what I want to ask you, because I really don't want this to be where I'm trying to convince anybody, what I want to ask you to consider is the food that you're choosing to eat, how it's prepared, the sodium, the salt, the oils, the sugars. Those are all known toxins to the body. They just are. And we don't operate optimally. And for those of you like myself who for years didn't show any signs of, you know, I ate Kraft macaroni and cheese. I'm not at all embarrassed to tell you that when I owned a landscaping business in Phoenix for a number of years, and I started so early in the morning, I started with a bagel and cream cheese and coffee. And then for lunch, I had McDonald's supersize. And then on the way home, usually Taco Bell or Burger King. And that was 5-6 days a week. I was eating that crap every day and had absolutely no issues that I'm aware of in that time. Maybe I'll have long-term effects. That's my fear, is I'll have long-term effects from eating that way. But at the time, there was nothing. I mean, I hadn't been to a doctor and I don't even know how many years. So I'm glad, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I recognize I was playing Russian roulette and I came out okay, but I don't know in my later years how that eating is going to have impacted me. So making the changes that I did, I'm hoping is going to offset some of that. But I will, you know, I just wanted to ask you, you know, so when we as ministers are ministering to people about spirituality, I feel like there's a disconnect between what we're putting into our bodies. We're not nourishing our bodies, or we're eating because we like it. We like the taste of it. It does other things. That's the relationship that I was trying to establish before this. It served a purpose for me. It met my needs, but it didn't my spiritual needs, because of I didn't want to participate in, you know, I believe that my dollar is a vote. So if I give a business my dollar, I'm voting for their business practice. If their business practice is not to care for the animals, and, you know, it's just a stock farm and they have no space and they have no quality of life, but I'm giving you my dollar, I'm basically telling you it's okay. You can treat the animals that way. If I go and I, you know, purchase, I'm just going to use the name Walmart because that's the only one that comes to mind. I have shopped at Walmart because unfortunately I'm in a small town, and they're unfortunately, you know, the one of the few options that we have, they run everybody else out. So so I understand that dichotomy and I understand that struggle. We can know the right thing to do, and sometimes our choices, as you said, Nikki, about organic, I can't afford to eat all organic. Yeah. Nor in the town that I live in am I given options to eat a wide variety of organic. So I eat less organic than I do organic because of the options that I have, other than to grow my own food, which I aspire to do. So that said, I understand that there are other variables involved here. So the end game is just to do the best that we can and to question ourselves, am I doing the best that I can to support the mind, body, spirit triad? Okay, so we do mindfulness, we do meditations, we do affirmations. You know, weekly, I hear people talk about how they're interacting with people. They want to improve their lives and the lives of other people. They want to be inspirational. I just always felt that the part that was missing is that people are really neglecting the importance of the body, what we're putting into our bodies to support the mind and to support our spirit. And it's a huge disconnect. And it seems like we just go from mindfulness to spirit, and we really don't worry about the middle part so much, you know. And I guess basically what I wanted to say is, if you would take a look at the links that I'm providing for you as educational, nothing that I supplied is anybody ever going to feel like they're being preached to or trying to be convinced to change. It's all information for you that's factual. And so, for example, a lot of what I read is about how eating whole foods, plant-based more has been shown to reverse diabetes, heart disease, and very many ailments. And they're honest enough to say that a few that they don't show any empirical evidence that they help much would be a chronic illness like lupus, something of that nature. The lupus is one that, and Hashimoto's is a tough one, but there is improvement with Hashimoto's. So those types of immune diseases are a bit more of a challenge, and there's not as much proof that those do. But heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancers. There is a book called The China Studies. Anybody familiar with The China Study? By T. Colin Campbell? So that's another one. That's what started me on this, was I read that book and I couldn't put it down. And it's a thick book. It reads almost like it's a biography, but also a textbook, like a scientific textbook. And he basically went to China as a Western medicine doctor. He wanted to help children who were having issues with nutrition deficiencies. And then that's when he had his aha moment about the relationship between food and nutritional diseases and cancers in particular. And so he went and created an evidence-based study, and it is to this day the largest study on nutritional proof between what we put in our body and diseases that are caused and diseases that are reversed and or eliminated altogether through what we put into our bodies. Okay, so there's that physical component of it that I personally feel passionate about. But I think honestly, I have to say my biggest takeaway is, how am I promoting peace in the world when my dollar is promoting animal suffering and violence, right? And if we don't have to eat animals, why do we eat animals? I would think it's because we enjoy the taste of it, right? I enjoyed the taste of it, but really, if we don't have to, why do we? That's, I guess, is really the kind of the question. If it's not necessary for our survival, and it has more damage to the climate, and to disease and things of that nature, again, why do it? And I think that question is important on so many levels, because when I decided not to be Catholic anymore because it wasn't meeting my spiritual needs, and I dissected for me that I could not continue to promote something that promoted hatred towards other groups of people. You know, back in the day, Catholics wouldn't even allow women or men into church to receive Holy Communion if they were divorced. Obviously, that's changed. Yeah. And then they went from, homosexuality is an abomination to, all right, well, just don't bring it in here, but that's fine if you want to do it out there. And so that was not in alignment with the person that I am innately. And so that right there is kind of what I'm trying to make the connection to you, is like, I had to then look at other areas of my life and go, where else am I not congruent with spirit in my life choices? Okay, I'll give you one other big one too before we go here, about making connections about what serves my higher being and what doesn't, was drinking. So drinking is a social norm. I come from a big family of drinkers, and so it was a norm for us to do so. And then when I was of drinking age, I certainly drank socially. There didn't ever seem to be a big problem, except for the one time I got pulled over for a DUI, and I got arrested for a DUI, and rightfully so, because I was of the legal limit. And I have to tell you that was one of those other aha moments where I sat there and go, okay, I'm not going to ostracize, alcohol is not the problem. It's that I was drinking irresponsibly, and I could have, and thankfully didn't, hurt myself or hurt somebody else. And then I volunteered for Mothers Against Drunk Drivers and went to the victim impact panels. And that was a game changer for me. And that was, again, one of those, if you will, come to Jesus moments for me, where I had to ask myself, where else in my life am I making poor decisions that are not supporting my optimal life? And where am I setting a poor example for others? So there was this incongruency. I was a very spiritual person. I was, just whatever. I'm not going to, I was, in some ways, I was really on track. In other ways, I really wasn't supporting myself. There was this just out of balance, incongruent thing. And again, it's not about perfectionism, because when I have these conversations with other people, they'll go, well, Caitlin, life is not about being perfect. And I say, well, I find that statement really is a ruse for somebody who doesn't want to try to be better, because it's really not about being perfect. It's just people want to get comfortable and plateau and just stay where they are and not push any further. And I'm here to challenge you all to just say, where in my life have I plateaued and I just do the same thing, the same affirmations, the same meditations, the yoga, I do all that stuff all the time. But where else in my life did I just kind of stop pushing the envelope and going, where can I improve? Where can I still make a difference in my life and the lives of others, or the lives of animals, or whatever? Again, I want to be clear, get the blood work, find out what your baseline is, find out where you're deficient in. And I can tell you that just introducing fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes into your daily diet will do nothing but help improve any chronic illnesses that you have, any fog brain that you have, any of those things that are going on. This is not going to not help you. You're not going to be deficient. You're looking to be more optimal, I would say, in how we're showing up, because our bodies are machines. It's like a car. You can't not put coolant or oil or transmission fluid in your car and change the air filter on a regular basis and expect that it's just going to run all these years later. It's just not going to happen. And the body is the same thing. And the body is a self-regulating mechanism that will heal itself when it's given the right opportunity to do that. And again, what I want to just share with all of you is just this idea that going forward, as we're aging, our bodies are changing, and the lifestyles that we've had previously coming into this have definitely had an impact on us. And some of you are probably already witnessing that. I know, B, with you with allergies, you can only do what you can only do with that. But a lot of what we have discovered is that the food that we're eating today is so different. The soil is depleted. The foods that we're growing, they're being picked sooner. They're not ripe. They're not ripening on the vine, and we're losing nutritive value. And the more that we cook our foods, the less nutritive value is in the foods as well. So from that, I don't know if you guys had any questions. I hope nobody felt like they were trying to be converted. That wasn't my point. My point is just, we're on a journey. And whenever we feel that we've got all the answers and our lives are working for us because we're comfortable, I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable and see what more, where can you push yourself to be more, to be better, to be, not perfect, but to be better, and to give your body the chance that it deserves to perform for you. Because, the end game is not to live forever. The end game is to live a quality of life. And there's just so many people around us who are comfortable now with suffering with chronic illness and so many medications, that the medications are shortening our lifespan as well, because they're shutting down our organs, and that's something else that we have to consider. But I would just hate for people to fall prey to the idea that this is the new American norm. People go on medications and, just wait to die, basically, and I'm here to tell you that there's more that you can do for a higher quality of life and die from natural causes, because you're still going to die from the natural causes instead of the ones that are life shortening, because you all have such good work left to do. Why shorten it? Why not help yourselves to do it? So that's all I got on that level.
I love your passion.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff.
Yep.
I raised my hand because I just wanted to clarify one little thing. You were going through kind of a litany of stuff really quick, and you mentioned the oils are toxic. And I just wanted to say the types of oils are really important, and fat is really important for our body's health and our brain's health. So
Yes.
avocado and olive oil are like amazingly good fats to have in your body.
Correct.
Trans fats, as Carrie mentioned earlier, are really toxic. So, and then on a spiritual level, like avoiding palm oil is probably a really good thing, because there's so much damage to orangutans and their habitat. it's really endangering them. But all of what you said, look, there's a lot of good information. But I also want to put in, it wasn't just allergies that got me, it was black mold really took me out. And my body, I have like at least one genetic marker that made it so that I could not recover from that on my own. And there is a place for some medications in our life, because I needed to take binders in order to get those toxins from the mold out of my system. And I wasn't improving, and I would continue to devolve if I hadn't gotten the specific help with, medication. And it was not just medication. It was like, a detox diet and, saunas with infrared and just all this stuff. And also with POTS and mast cell activation. POTS is an autoimmune disorder. So there are certain medications that I actually need to take in order to feel functional, even though I have what most would call really excellent diet, aside from the fact that I probably eat too much chocolate, which is like, the least of my issues. So, yes, I also think that like there's too much of just relying on pharmaceuticals, absolutely, and that food could help a lot of us. Like, one of the things you didn't mention is high blood pressure. If you go on a vegan or like, really cut your meat intake, your high blood pressure will go down. They tell you not to eat grapefruit when you're on high blood pressure medication, because grapefruit lowers your blood pressure naturally. So how many people could just eat half a grapefruit every morning with whatever else they're having for breakfast and not have to take the high blood pressure medication? So anyway, I just want to throw all that in there.
No, and thank you. That's actually a good way to kind of end it, is just to say that I'm not a proponent of that people not take medication, that there's no place for it. We're just in a society now where the end game is that you go to a doctor and it's write a prescription.
Right.
I think that if people have underestimated the value of food consumption in minimizing the need for medications today. And that's where the food as medicine comes in, that has been around for centuries, is the connection has been around, and the information about how food is healing and nourishing to the body, and it's self-regulating. And I just wanted to end on this one note. This book here was a game changer. This is a woman who worked in Congress, or at a congressional level appointee in the food industry, and she's a whistleblower. She wrote this over 10 years ago about the horrible influence of the pharmaceutical company on the FDA and their decisions for the food pyramid and and food consumption. Also, the meat and dairy industry's egregious influence with their money for Congress people, and how that's really what's driving the information or the lack of information in the medical field and the nutrition field. With regard to what we put in our bodies. And so I just wanted to let you know that is an influence that made me angry, that all this time growing up, I was influenced, trusting that the people that go into these industries are to be trusted, and to find out that some of them are not, and that there's some rogue influences here. And so, I just say to take the time to learn and look out for yourself. And do your own disseminating of information, for sure. But there's a lot that can be done, and I just hope that you consider the importance of the body in the mind, body, spirit, for a more holistic version of yourselves.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Thank
your time and your feedback, for sure. And please do look at the links, because they go into details that I could not possibly have gone into here. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. That's amazing.
thank you.
And I know B also talked about the turmeric and things like that. I did do a stint with some Ayurvedic and Siddha Veda kind of herbs and spices to solve the gut first. And they believe in solving the gut first, get the digestion thing fixed, and then almost everything is fixed beyond that. But anytime I have inflammation, I'll put turmeric. There's a CCFT, it's coriander, cumin, and fennel, all good digestive, and it's really anti-inflammatory. So when I drink those, it's like, that's all I need. I don't need to pop pills.
You know, in more recent time, they're showing documentaries now about the connection between the gut biome as having a tremendous influence over the brain, and that it's not the brain that actually regulates the body, it's actually the gut biome
Oh, wow.
influences the brain's function for the remainder of the body. And so that's how important it is to for food, again, for how we nourish our bodies, because it's all
Yeah.
interconnected.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of herbs, like I'm on so many antihistamines that this year when seasonal allergies came around, like it wasn't even cutting it. So my buddy turned me on to this formulation called fenugreek, which is like fennel and like thyme, or I don't know what it was, but like it's just herbs and it's just like a concentrated amount, and it totally helped with seasonal allergies. It was amazing. So yeah, there's a lot to food as medicine, as the title of today's topic. It's very true. It is very much influencing all of our health. So good talk. I really appreciate it, Caitlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
So next week we have Sharon Coutier. She was a member a while back. She's coming back, and I don't remember specifically what her talent is, but it's, I think, in the Reiki realm. And so she's going to talk about her best practices and that sort of thing. So that's what we get next week. I forgot to ask Sally while she was on. I think she wants to do the equinox on the following week. So we got her down for that. But thank you, everybody. This is going to be a great episode. We're going to get lots of replays on this one. And I look forward to, Caitlin, your influence on the 99 Palms property.
Yes,
as well.
I'll get back to you on that.
Very
sure.
excited about that. And Bee's very involved as well. So all of us are looking forward to what we can co-create.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
everybody.